All right, so for years, you've seen the videos, right? These incredible robots doing backflips, dancing, all these amazing feats. But then, poof, they just disappear back into the lab. Well, at CES 2026, something felt fundamentally different. It was like the robots were finally having their real coming out party. So let's get into it. And honestly, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang just nailed it with this quote. I mean, the single line really sets the stage for everything we're going to talk about. It tells us we're at a huge inflection point. This is the moment the tech stops being just a curiosity and starts being a real paradigm shift. So what does a ChatGPT moment for robots actually feel like? Well, it feels a whole lot like using ChatGPT for the very first time, way back in 2022. It wasn't perfect, not by a long shot, but it just worked in a way that felt completely new and incredibly powerful. And this is the perfect way to look at it, side by side. Back in 2022, we were all playing with ChatGPT, seeing its mistakes, but still going, wow, this actually works? And that is the exact same vibe we got from the robots at CES 2026. Yeah, they were a little slow, maybe a bit clumsy, but you could just feel the breakthrough. The potential was absolutely undeniable, even if the execution wasn't quite there. And look, this isn't just a gut feeling. We've got the data to back it up. At CES, the number of innovation award entries for robotics shot up by a massive 32%. And AI was right there with it, jumping 29%. I mean, that's a huge surge of investment and focus in both of these fields, coming together. And it's right at that intersection where these two trends meet that we get our key term, physical AI. We really have to stop thinking about robots as just simple automation tools. It's so much more than that now. What we're talking about is AI with a body, a system that can actually understand, reason, and then act in the real world. Okay, so where's the first place we're seeing this revolution actually happen? It's on the factory floor. This is where physical AI is making the leap from just being a flashy demo to becoming a real deployed tool. But listen, the first jobs these robots are taking on, they aren't the super complex headline-grabbing tasks you might be imagining. Nope. Instead, they're the invisible but absolutely essential ones. Things like part sequencing, logistics, repetitive handling. These are the boring but critical bottlenecks that humanoid robots are being designed to solve right now. And a perfect example of this is Boston Dynamics' new Atlas robot. Let's take a look. It's not just about raw strength, even though it can lift up to 110 pounds. The real story here is practicality. We're talking a modular head for easy upgrades, a certifiable safety system, which is crucial to get factory managers to sign off, and swappable batteries so it never has to stop working. See? These are features designed for a real job, not just for a cool YouTube video. But here's the real game changer, and this is huge. When one single robot learns a new skill, that knowledge can be instantly pushed out to every other robot in the entire fleet. That's what we call fleet learning. And what it means is that these robots improve at the speed of software, not the slow pace of hardware. That is a fundamental, massive shift in how we think about industrial machinery. Okay, so factories. That's one thing, right? They're structured, they're predictable. But what happens when these robots try to step out of the factory and into our world? Into the chaotic, messy, unpredictable human world? Yeah, what about robots in our homes, in our daily lives? That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? And what we're seeing now is a lot of companies basically raising their hands and declaring, we're ready to tackle this, even if, let's be honest, they don't have all the answers just yet. And this table really breaks down why it's so much harder. See, for factory robots, the goal is pretty straightforward, efficiency and uptime. But once you move into the home, the top priorities suddenly become safety and cost. And then you have companion robots, and that opens up a whole new can of worms with ethics and responsibility. The bottom line is, the home is just a way, way tougher nut to crack. Which brings us to something like LG's Cloy robot. You might look at it and think, wow, that thing moves really slow, kind of cautiously. But you have to realize, that's not a bug, it's a feature. Think about it. In a house filled with kids, pets, and your favorite vase, moving slowly and deliberately isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely essential for safety. Okay, let's zoom out for a second, because this isn't just a race between companies, it's a global race between nations. And what's fascinating is that different countries are coming at this with completely different industrial game plans. And you can really see the three main strategies playing out. In the US, the focus is on creating the platform, that core software stack, from big tech players like NVIDIA. Then you have China, which is leveraging its incredible component ecosystem to just pump out volume at a low price, iterating super fast. And then there's Korea,
which is all about integration and field readiness, making specialized systems that just work right out of the box. And that's because, at the end of the day, this competition isn't just about the brawn, the physical robot itself. It's really about the brains behind it. We're talking about the software, the simulation environments, and that whole learning pipeline that actually makes the robot smart. And this is basically what that pipeline looks like. It's a loop. First, you collect tons of data from the real world. Then, you use that data to train your AI models in a super realistic simulation. You validate it, then you deploy it onto the actual robot. And here's the magic part. Everything that robot learns gets fed right back into the system to improve the whole fleet. It's a virtuous cycle. And whoever masters this pipeline, they're going to have a massive, massive advantage. This brings us back to another mind-bending quote from Jensen Huang. The end goal here isn't just to put a bunch of robots in a factory. The vision is to turn the entire factory into one single intelligent system, a giant robot that's constantly learning and optimizing itself. Just think about that for a second. And for these robots to make the jump from just walking around to actually doing useful work, the whole focus of the industry is shifting. The new battleground isn't in the legs anymore. It's moved to the fingertips. It's all about the hands, the grippers, the tactile sensors that let a robot truly interact with and learn from its environment. That's where the richest, most valuable data is going to come from. So what's the big takeaway from all of this? Well, it's simple. The robotics industry has finally grown up. The goal isn't to make another cool, viral video of a robot doing a backflip anymore. That whole era of novelty, it's over. We are now firmly in the era of utility and integration. It's all about one question. What can this robot actually do? How does it fit into a real workflow? What tangible value does it provide? That right there is the new scoreboard. It's the only metric for success that matters now.
And all of this leads us to the final, and maybe the most critical question we have to ask ourselves. This technology isn't just going to replace some jobs. It's going to fundamentally redefine the very nature of work itself. This is a massive, massive transition we're heading into. So the real question isn't if it's coming. It's, are we ready for it?